Welcome to Foundations, a podcast where we build a stronger understanding in our Christian roots. Join Friar Prosper and I, Friar Ebenezer, as we embark on a journey to explore core elements of our faith, starting with cornerstone of prayer in our second episode. On our first episode, we spoke about love. Today, we are going to talk about prayer. And prayer is something that we all say, we all practice it in our daily life, in our Christian life. So people begin to ask, is prayer something that is to be felt or is an encounter with God? What do you think about this when someone asks you such a question?
Thank you very much. Happy to be back on your podcast for this second conversation. Now, prayer is an encounter, definitely. Prayer is an encounter, and prayer is not necessarily something to be felt. Now, the analogy which I use to explain this sometimes to people is it's possible to be in a room with someone and not know that the person is there. It doesn't mean you are not in the presence of the person. So, me not being able to feel or see the person is not an indication that the person is not there in the room with me, behind the door, lying on the floor, looking in other places. So, presence is something that goes beyond being. It's possible I can't discern the presence of someone, yet the person is there. And this is important because prayer is an encounter with a person, with a God who loves us. That's why it was very, very important for us to begin with love, the love of God for us. The one who does not understand the love of God, what will not care. Prayer becomes transactional again. It becomes something that I do with someone who is very powerful and can help me. So God is very powerful. So I ask him for stuff. And that's all. But prayer should go beyond that. It's not that prayer doesn't include that. It should include that because we have to. But it should go beyond that because what we truly see is a loving relationship with the Lord. So prayer is the first response to the love. So in our catechism, we learn this definition of about prayer, which is that prayer is the lifting up of our hearts and our minds. Also, he talks about empathy as well. Yes, empathy. But the lifting up of our hearts and our minds, so our thoughts and our affections. But it doesn't necessarily mean we feel something that we have to build the conviction that what we are doing actually gets me.
So now, how can one build his or her prayer life?
So, one, if one has grown in the conviction that he or she is loved by God, then he realizes I have to respond to this love because love always calls for a response. And that is how now we begin to become attracted to prayer. So, for instance, a prayer of gratitude. And I realize that God has given me life. I say, thank you, God, for the gift of life. Now, how do I build that into something sustained, something that can really carry me through my journey? Well, the things that we want to be permanent in our life usually build into some kind of routine. So, in the traditions of our church, even in our villages, they are there, our grandmothers used to recite them.
We have the rosaries, the Bibles.
So we have all those traditions. Now, the most important thing, especially when we want to build a life of prayer, is to show up. One, that's the most important. To show up. So I decide that every day at say 6 a.m. in the morning, I'm going to spend 10 minutes praying in the morning for the whole of the day. The most important thing is to show up, to actually be there at that time, because it's an appointment that I make with the Lord. And so I want to respect that just like I would respect an appointment with a head of state or something.
Okay.
And sometimes I don't feel like being there. Again, the issue of feelings. But I come because I know that God loves me and He is waiting to have communion with me. And so, whether I feel like or not, I show up. So, the most important thing is to show up at the time that I have decided. So, to build a consistent prayer life, you need to have a certain kind of routine, a certain kind of planned time. And it speaks to love. You know, when you love someone, you are intentional about the things you do. So if I am responding to love, then I must also be intentional about it. It must not be accidental. It must not be that, okay, today I really feel like praying, so then I can pray for 2 hours. The other day that I don't feel like praying, I don't pray at all.
Yeah.
But you have to first build consistency before you go for intensity.
Okay.
That's the second rule. Consistency before intensity. So it's not just that I do it when I feel like it. It's not just I do it when I can because there's opportunity, but because I have decided and I love God, I do it. So these are the first two rules. The third one, which especially touch on devotions, is to go deep in one place. Go deep in one place. So we have a lot of devotions: the Rosary, Divine Mercy, Chaplet of Saint Michael,
The novenas are also
the
there.
novenas, all of that. And it's good to mix them up, but it's good to have one basic and primary devotion. Someone will say, okay, my basic devotion is the Rosary, so I'll pray the Rosary every day, something like that. So you must now become attached to that, learn more about that devotion. How did it start? What are the attitudes that go with that devotion? And then become deeply entrenched. Because one of the dangers I have seen is that it's possible to be distracted by the benefits of all the devotion that I want to do all of them at once, which is not very good. So find one devotion and stick to it. Yes, maybe when there is a feast coming up, you can take up the novena that leads to that feast. That's okay. But you must have one primary one. And that's one of the other, maybe the third rule I will share on prayer. So these three things should help to build some kind of routine, some kind of a lifestyle of prayer.
Okay, must all our prayers be answered? Because people feel so discouraged when they pray for many hours, for many days, for many months, and then they don't see anything. So they be like, I've prayed enough. I'm tired. I'm not seeing any improvements. I'm not seeing God answering my prayers. And they give up. They give up and then they go back to their first stage again. So should we be expectant that I'm praying because I want God to answer this? And if God doesn't answer, I just give it up. So what do you think?
Yeah, so again, the basics, we must come to the basics, which is what we are trying to do in the podcast. Prayer is about a relationship. So it's not just about getting things. It's about the relationship that I want to build with God. And even in our normal human terms, we have relationships with people who don't act the way we want them to act. Take our parents.
Yeah.
So maybe I want ice cream when I was like 7 or something. I want ice cream. And my mom or my dad doesn't want to give me the ice cream. Probably at that time I would not be able to understand why he or she doesn't want to give me the ice cream. And yet, as I grew, I realized it's not just because they didn't love me. They might have some kind of information that I didn't have at that time, which would make it bad for me to have that ice cream at that time.
Yeah.
So that being said, we must realize that God has a bigger view of everything, and His will is the best for us. Now, when we have these two convictions, then we can understand why our prayers might not be answered at the time we want them and in the way that we want them. Get it? So our prayer is not just about answers. Our prayers are about relationships. Now, when we don't have that understanding, then that becomes a problem. And I don't say this lightly because I know how emotionally draining this can be. Imagine you're asking for help and you're struggling with sickness always and you're not getting it. What do I do with that? And that's something we'll tackle a bit later on in this series. But the most important thing to realize is that God knows better than myself. And maybe my next prayer, instead of giving up, should be, God, help me understand a bit more why I'm not getting my healing and how I can live without this healing. That makes it a bit more practical. So it's not just about our answers, it's more about the relationship. As far as I am talking with the Lord, then I'm getting to know Him a bit more. He's getting to know me a bit more. I'm exposing myself to His love.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, is there any recommendation how people can develop a prayerful routine or a prayerful lifestyle?
So, most important rule is time. We need to spend time with the Lord. So, I need to find out, okay, maybe to start off, I want to spend 15 minutes of my day praying. So maybe I can spread that 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, 5 minutes in the evening. So that makes it easier, and it gives us a certain punctuation of the day. So it's not all at one point of the day, but it's spread. So that is important. Time, spread, and it has to be spread throughout the day. Then 2, we need to keep around us things that call us to prayer. So you can keep maybe rosary beads in your pocket. You can make your screensaver an image of a prayer, of a psalm, so that whenever you pick it, at least it calls you a bit to prayer. Even if it's not a 2-minute prayer, but the fact that I saw it, I began to think about God. That is already a prayer. So something like that already keeps us in the place of prayer. Also, maybe keeping the company. We like to pray. It's another. So I know that maybe Friday Ebenezer is a very prayerful person, so I try to keep his company because I know he will motivate me to pray. Because there are 3 groups of people that we imitate very closely. Those who are very close to us, the most people around us, the main, the powerful. Maybe we do not have access to a lot of powerful people, but there are a lot of people who are close to us, or the group that we belong to. So we have to regulate that. Who are those who are not close to us? If I really want to pray seriously, I have to regulate this. Those close to me and those who are mostly around. These are
Thank you very much, Father Prosper. We are happy once again to have you here to share your thoughts, your beautiful presentation with us on prayer. And we really hope that anytime we call on you, you'll be glad and willing to accept our offer.
All thanks to God.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So, for those who are new on this channel, this is Clothing Fries, and it is a new podcast that we have begun called Foundations, where we are going to build a stronger understanding of our Christian roots. So, I urge you all to subscribe to our channel, to like this video, share it to people, to also learn and also understand some things about Christian life. And share your comments in the comment section, which is very important to us. And if you have any question that you would like us to help you understand or address it, you can also share that in the comment section. Until then, see you next time. Thank you, and peace be with you.